Everyone, welcome to this explainer. Look, before we dive into anything else today, I really need you to pause and focus with me for just a minute, because what we're unpacking today, it could honestly save your life or the life of someone you deeply care about. This is something that happens quietly, in the dark, harming people every single night. I want to tell you about Harold. Harold was a 71-year-old retired teacher. One night, he went to bed feeling perfectly fine. No chest pain, no warning signs, literally nothing. But the next morning, he was gone. He passed away from a massive heart event right in his sleep. And the crazy thing is, when you look back at his life in the months before this happened, you find something his primary doctor completely missed. Everyday bedtime routines that millions of seniors do without even realizing the danger. So let's dive into this explainer and uncover exactly what those habits are.
So what does this actually look like in numbers? Well, check out this staggering stat. A major study published in the European Heart Journal followed over 84,000 adults, mostly in that 60 to 80 age bracket, for 9 whole years. And what they found was wild. People who followed a specific set of nighttime habits had a 67% higher risk of dying from a heart-related problem during sleep compared to folks who made just a few simple, intentional changes to their evening routine. 67%. I mean, we're talking about the literal difference between waking up tomorrow morning and not waking up at all.
Now, I totally get it. It is incredibly easy to sit there and think, well, I feel fine, I sleep fine, this surely doesn't apply to me. But listen, that false sense of security is exactly what ends up costing lives. The really dangerous conditions, they don't announce themselves. They build up silently, month after month, kind of like rust inside a pipe. It's completely invisible until the pressure just becomes too much and boom, the pipe bursts. But today, it is time to take control. We're proactively counting down the top 6 things you need to stop doing before bed so we can stop that rust from building and absolutely protect your heart.
All right, let's kick off the countdown. Habit number 6, the digestion danger.
So this first one seems super comforting and entirely harmless, right? Eating a big meal right before going to bed. Millions of us do it. Maybe it's a late dinner, a heavy snack, or just polishing off those leftovers before turning in. But let's actually look at what's happening inside your body. When you eat a heavy meal late at night, your digestive system demands a massive surge of blood flow, so your heart has to work incredibly hard to pump that blood down to your stomach. For a senior, researchers at the University of Sao Paulo found this after-meal stress spikes blood pressure by an average of 22 points. Just imagine that happening while you're lying completely flat in your most vulnerable state. The fix, though? It's so simple. Just finish your meal at least 3 hours before bed and pair it with a quick 10-minute walk. Research shows that brief little walk alone knocks down blood sugar spikes by 28% and takes an immense amount of pressure off your heart during the night.
Moving right along to habit number 5, medication timing.
Okay, your doctor has almost certainly never mentioned this to you. Nearly 60% of seniors over 70 just take their blood pressure medication in the morning without a second thought. But to understand why that's a huge problem, we have to talk about nocturnal hypertension. This is when your blood pressure spikes dangerously high in the early morning hours, usually right between 3 and 6 a.m. This happens to be the exact window when most heart attacks and strokes occur. If you take your meds in the morning, they peak around midday and practically wear off by the time you hit that critical early morning danger zone. You are essentially leaving your body completely unguarded right when it needs protection the absolute most. So look at this sheer difference a simple timing shift can make. This data is from a groundbreaking 19,000-patient study in the European Heart Journal. When patients shifted their blood pressure meds to bedtime, their risk of a heart attack dropped by 45%, heart failure risk plummeted by 49%, and the risk of stroke? It fell by a stunning 66%. Basically, your medication is working at full strength exactly when the danger is highest. Now, quick caveat here, definitely do not change your medication timing without chatting with your doctor first, because some meds absolutely have to be taken with food, but you for sure need to have this conversation at your next appointment.
Coming in at number 4, the dehydration trap.
This right here is one of the most underestimated heart risks out there. And the dangerous irony is that most of us actually purposely drink less water in the evening. And honestly, the instinct makes total sense. We all want to avoid those annoying 2 a.m. bathroom trips stumbling around in the dark. But what this intentional dehydration does to your blood while you sleep, it's genuinely terrifying. See, as we age, our thirst mechanism naturally gets a bit blunted, which means you can be significantly dehydrated without ever actually feeling thirsty. When you're dehydrated during sleep, your blood becomes thick and sticky. Think about the difference between trying to pump thick, sticky honey through a pipe versus clear, flowing water. That thick blood is incredibly hard for your heart to pump, and it forms clots way more easily. And that is the exact mechanism behind strokes.
But hey, the solution is not to go chugging a gallon of water right before bed. That totally defeats the purpose and ruins your sleep. The actual fix is highly targeted. Drink 1 full glass of water with electrolytes, specifically potassium and magnesium, about 2 hours before sleep. You can even just snack on foods naturally rich in potassium in the late afternoon, like sweet potatoes or a few dried apricots. These maintain your hydration all through the night without flooding your bladder, while that magnesium actively relaxes your artery walls. It acts like a gentle, protective little cushion for your heart overnight.
All right, we're at number 3, the blue light shield.
This habit absolutely breaks my heart because it is just so incredibly common. Take a lady named Dorothy, 78 years old. She suffered 2 minor strokes in 18 months, even though she was doing everything else right. Her hidden trap? She was scrolling through her tablet in bed for 2 to 3 hours every single night. Reading the news, looking at family photos, the screen just inches from her face. She had absolutely no idea this habit was directly destabilizing her heart. And here's the fascinating science behind why. The blue light from our screens directly suppresses melatonin production. Now, most of us just think of melatonin as that sleep hormone, right? But researchers at Harvard-affiliated hospitals have shown it's so much more than that. It's actually a powerful antioxidant that acts as a shield, protecting the lining of your blood vessels from plaque buildup and arterial stiffness. When you're blasting your eyes with blue light, you are actively lowering that crucial cardiovascular shield.
And if you're over 70, your natural melatonin production is already down by about 75%. Suppressing it even further with screens? It's devastating. In fact, chronic nighttime light exposure is linked to a 43% increase in major heart problems in older adults. When Dorothy finally instituted a strict no-screen policy after 8 p.m., not only did her sleep get way better, but within 4 months, her inflammatory markers, specifically C-reactive protein, dropped by over 30%. Simply stopping screens 2 hours before bed is literally one of the most powerful decisions you can make for your heart.
Down to number 2, back sleeping.
Okay, I know this one sounds a little crazy at first. How can your sleeping position hurt your heart? Well, how you position your body for 8 hours a night has a profound physical impact on your cardiovascular system. When you sleep flat on your back, gravity naturally causes your tongue and the soft tissues in your throat to just fall backward. This partially or even fully blocks your airway, driving obstructive sleep apnea, a condition that affects an estimated 50% of adults over 65. During these silent little episodes, you literally stop breathing. Your brain sounds an emergency alarm and floods your body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, causing your blood pressure to spike to highly dangerous levels dozens, sometimes hundreds of times per night.
The contrast here is quite literally life-saving. Adults with moderate to severe sleep apnea who sleep on their backs have a 58% higher risk of a fatal heart rhythm problem during sleep. This right here is exactly how seemingly healthy people pass away quietly in the night. The fix? Sleeping on your left side. It keeps your airway open and physically reduces the pressure on your heart. You can use a simple body pillow behind your back to stop yourself from rolling over, and honestly, if you have sleep apnea, a CPAP machine is an absolute lifesaver.
And here we are. Habit number 1, the number 1 threat.
We have arrived at the absolute most dangerous bedtime habit for seniors. This is the big one, the habit that ties everything else together and acts as a massive multiplier for every other cardiovascular risk we've talked about today. The number 1 threat is rumination. That is chronic, untreated emotional stress and worry left to just fester right before sleep. Do you watch intense political news or crime docs right before bed? Do you lie awake running through worries about your health, your finances, or your kids? When you do this, you sustain those same exact stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, and that prevents your blood pressure from completing its natural 10 to 20% nighttime dip. You are literally robbing your heart of the crucial recovery time it desperately needs to survive.
And the result of robbing your heart of that rest? It's staggering. A 20-year study found that adults who reported chronic nighttime worry had a 72% higher lifetime risk of fatal heart events. This is exactly what took Harold. It wasn't just one thing. It was this perfect storm of late meals, dehydration, and back sleeping, all sitting on top of a man who silently worried every single night about his retirement finances. His heart just simply never got to rest.
Okay, let's shift gears. Reclaiming your heart health.
Here is the incredibly good news. You have total control over this. The solution isn't complicated at all. It just requires you to be highly intentional about how you end your day. So let's look at exactly how you can reclaim your heart health, starting tonight. I want to introduce you to the cardiac wind down. 30 minutes before bed, turn off all the news and all your screens. Then grab a piece of paper and just write down 3 things that went well today. And yeah, I know it might sound a little cheesy, but real research out of UC Berkeley proves this simple act of gratitude measurably lowers cortisol within 20 minutes. Finally, practice 4-7-8 breathing.
Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 7, exhale slowly for 8. This directly activates your body's natural calm-down system and actively lowers your heart rate.
And to give your body that extra biological assist, consider pairing this routine with magnesium glycinate, about 200 to 400 milligrams taken 30 minutes before bed. This specific form of magnesium easily crosses into the brain to calm your nervous system while physically relaxing your blood vessel walls. Studies actually show it can reduce nighttime cortisol by up to 39%. Think of it like putting a gentle hand on your heart's shoulder, telling it that the day is over and it is finally safe to rest.
I really want to leave you with this thought today, because it isn't just some empty, feel-good encouragement, it's biological reality. The human body is incredibly resilient. Even at 75, 80, or 85 years old, your body has a remarkable ability to heal and adapt the moment we remove the obstacles that are harming it. Your heart wants to keep beating steadily for decades more. And every single change we've explored today is completely within your reach tonight. Not next month, tonight.
Look, you didn't make it to this stage of life by being weak. You made it here because you're resilient. The people who love you need you to keep going, to be vital, to be present, and to be fully yourself. These habits protect your heartbeat, absolutely, but more importantly, they protect your life. So as you wrap up this explainer, I've got one final question for you. Which of these 6 habits are you going to take charge of and change tonight?